Hello again, my name is Bing, aka Eclipse from Crybaby Raiders, and this is part 2 of my DPS guide for mostly aimed at our raiders and trials, but anyone can view and enjoy. So in part 1 we talked about setting up weak auras to track rotational cooldowns, debuffs on the target including dots and self buffs. We're going to come back to weak auras in a later episode, but today we're going to talk about moving out of fire and movement DPS. So it's all about movement. First we're going to talk about the types of fire in World of Warcraft. The first thing is there's more than one type of fire, and how you deal with them actually differs. So I'm going to talk about Siege of Orgrimmar because everyone's familiar with that. The first type of fire is the old school traditional fire. It's under your feet and it stays there, it burns. The only two ways to make it stop burning are either A, to move out of the fire, or B, die. There is literally no other way out. So it should be obvious here that you need to move as soon as possible, because every millisecond you spend in the fire is more damage that you don't need to be taking. There's no reason to stay in it whatsoever. And the example I'm going to give is on Immersius. His shower bolt, where he does the little puddle under your feet that leaves a void zone. I'm going to show you a clip just so you can see how I deal with it. These abilities are usually on a timer, so you can get ready to move when it's about to be cast and get out of it as quickly as possible. And in fact, here I'm out before it even lands. That's the ideal situation. You need to be watching for the timers on these abilities, because you're going to have to move, and the quicker you get out, the better. The second type of fire is the kind of telegraphed AoE, where there's an area that's marked, and after some amount of time, bad things happen to anything inside that area. And the example I'm going to use is from Fallen Protectors, Rook Stonetoe's Corrupted Brew. This is a large AoE where if you're inside after the brew hits, you take a load of damage and you also get slowed. Now I should point out that Siege of Orgrimmar Mythic is a really bad place to get practice, because you just ignore all the mechanics. But the way that these abilities are tuned, traditional fire usually kills you if you're standing in it for more than a few seconds, especially with the other AoE that's going on. And these telegraphed AoEs, they're normally tuned so that if you take a hit and any other random unavoidable AoE, you just get one shot. Think back to progressing on Protectors, progressing on Iron Juggernaut. People who got hit by avoidable AoE just died instantly. And that's why it's so important to avoid this. Now, because there's a few seconds before it lands, you can actually use your judgment. So here Rook is about to cast his Corrupted Brew on me, and actually I know I've got enough time to finish that Prayer of Healing cast before moving out, and I'll still get out in plenty of time. You should always err on the side of caution though, and move earlier rather than later. This cast I could easily have finished, but I'm always erring on the side of moving as soon as I react, rather than moving too late. Now that we've established we need to move out of fire, what do we do during it? First I'm going to talk about ranged. So for ranged, you have your rotation, and the way I think of it is, what are the things that you can cut out for mobile DPS? So I start off saying, well, if I'm standing still I do my full rotation, right? I do my main nuke, I do my 2 dots, and I do my filler, which is Mind Flay. If I need to move a small amount and I'm not in a rush, then I do everything and I move just basically either during global cooldowns, or I can stutter step during Mind Flay and lose some of my filler. If I need to move more quickly than that, the first thing that goes is my Mind Flay filler, and that's generally true for any class. Your filler is the first thing that goes. And in this case I'm actually replacing it with Shadow Word Pain Spam, because I can do that on the move, it's instant. The next thing that I replace, if I need to move even faster than that, is that I stop refreshing Vampiric Touch. So I stop refreshing one of my dots because I need to stand still to cast that. but I still do all the other things in my rotation. And then that's pretty much it, because after this, everything else I do is either instant or mind blast. The final step, if I absolutely have no choice and have to move as fast as possible, is that I cut out mind blast altogether, and I basically do no DPS. And sometimes that's necessary, but you'll find most of the time you can afford to cast your main nuke. For melee, it's going to be slightly different. So melee generally are able to do full DPS on the move. I'm going to log my druid to demonstrate. So a good place for melee to practice is Evermore on Timeless Isle. He just moves the whole time, so it's like you're following a boss that's being moved. Get a shaman to give you water walking, or pick up a cursed swabby helm so you can keep up. And what I like to do is click left and right mouse button together. That way my right hand is doing the movement and the steering, and my left hand is doing the rotation. I don't get distracted at all with one hand trying to do two things at once. You can also strafe and DPS while strafing. It's a bit more clumsy, because then you're holding a button while doing your normal rotation, all with your left hand. So it's up to you, but this is a good way to practice. Just be aware that he puts you into fatigue a lot, which is really annoying. So to summarise then, the important things are, first of all, fire, just move out of it as soon as possible. If it's a telegraphed AoE and you know you've got time to finish the cast, then you can get away with it, but you need to know how much time you have before you need to move. Second thing, when moving out of fire, melee should be able to do it without any DPS loss. Ranged, you need to know how quickly you need to move and what abilities you're cutting out of your rotation to get that speed. That's going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys next time.